Welcome to Always Auburn with your host, Tyler Crane.
All right, we're back at you with Always Auburn, coming at you Monday afternoon. And before we get started with the video, I just ask that y'all bear with me today. We're having some technical difficulties. The headphones went out on me. I'm on top of it though. We'll be back tomorrow with a new set. We're going to have microphones and all that. So it's really going to be an improvement. But I didn't want to leave you without any content today. I felt it's my responsibility to keep this thing going and stay consistent. So I'm talking into the phone today. You might hear some echo. You might hear, the chair rattling, something like that. But just bear with me for today. Listen to the message. And hey, we'll be back tomorrow with some new and improved technology on the voice and sound end. So anyways, we're back at you, Always Auburn, coming at you Monday afternoon. We're going to get outside of what everyone else seems to be talking about in reference to the game we saw Saturday between Auburn and Oklahoma. So we're not going to talk about the referees. We're not going to talk about the poor officiating. We're not going to talk about the deceptive kind of mentality that it seems like these Oklahoma coaches have. We're going to get away from that. We're going to actually throw all that in the trash can because that's what it is. It's trash, it's garbage, and quite frankly, it is what it is. And I'm not wasting my time, wasting my breath, and wasting my energy trying to explain it or convey it anymore. So we're going to move past that. And before we get into this week's game and start looking forward to going on the road to College Station and kind of evaluating Texas A&M and really understanding what we are up against this week in College Station, we're going to take today and we're going to take a look back at Saturday's game and specifically look at Jackson Arnold because I think there is a lot to discuss with what we saw through his performance on the field Saturday. And it's not all bad. Jackson Arnold had some good moments. It's not all bad, but when you lose, it's really easier to point out the concerns and the apparent issues more than it is to talk about what we saw that was good. If we would have came out of this game with a victory, we still would have talked about Jackson Arnold and the concerns we saw or what's being put out there. We still would have talked about that, but it would have been a lot easier to kind of overlook all that and say, well, it's okay because we won the game. Well, at the end of the day, we didn't win the game. And, I've done a video kind of talking about how I felt like our defense played a great game, but at the same time, when we needed you to step up and make that stop to win the game, you weren't able to do it. And that's not discrediting the defense for the great performance they put out there. I don't think that even really reflects on their ability. I think that kind of points to the top, to tell you the truth. But I've already done a video about that, so we're going to stay away from that as well. We're going to get on Jackson Arnold. So Jackson Arnold had decent numbers. Can't remember the exact off the top of my head. Didn't turn the ball over, had a close call early in the game, but for the most part, as far as passing QB rating with the passing percentage and all that, completion percentage, wasn't a bad afternoon. Now, the things that concern me about Jackson Arnold, for one, I don't think all 10 or 9, I don't know how they're scoring the sacks at this point because it went from 10 to 11 to now they're saying 9. So I'm not sure how they're doing all that, but who cares? All the sacks were not on the offensive line, be quite honest. I'd probably give half of them to Jackson Arnold, to tell you the truth, especially watching the film study and kind of seeing what was available on the field that he denied the ball to receivers. And I think he did that because he didn't want to make a mistake. Let's look early in the game. Second drive after he had the big completion to Cam Coleman down the middle of the field, and he let that ball go. It wasn't necessarily a good ball, but Cam did what Cam does. He made a play on the ball and took the ball out the air. So, we run back to to the huddle. We get back out there. I think Jackson probably was feeling good, kind of had a little tunnel vision at that point, and bam, he about made the mistake of the game. Early in the game, at least for that part. Got ahead of himself, and really, if he would have read the routes right, read them outside the end rather than locking in on that inside receiver, I think Cam Coleman, who was the far wide receiver, it was double slants, and I think Cam Coleman would have actually beat his man across his face, and the safety had already committed to the slot man based on Jackson's eyes and just the play action. And I think Cam would have been open and possibly could have broke a tackle, and it might have been a dangerous play. But Jackson, kind of it looked like he got tunnel vision. It looked like he had already kind of made his mind up before he snapped the ball that he was going to hit Singleton. And Singleton, he really could have, when you go back and look at the film, you really could have hit Singleton if you would have made a decision. If you would have got rid of the ball as soon as you snapped it, if it would have been a true quick slant, but you let him get a little too deep. That safety read your eyes, and boom, it could have been 6 very easy. So I think that play had a huge impact on Jackson Arnold throughout the rest of that game. I think after that play, he became overly conscious about where he was going to throw the ball every time. I think he did not want to make that big mistake at all. And what that cost us was it cost us a lot of second guessing in his progressions and taking time to really try to just see if the man was open. Maybe that's the words. I don't know. He wasn't going to throw the ball unless it was a completely safe ball. And that's why we saw, he pulled the trigger on the deep ball a lot. And he did that because it's a lot harder to get picked off on the deep ball. You can kind of protect those balls by kind of, making it where it's only my man can get it by putting it high into the outside shoulder and kind of guiding them to the sidelines. It's either going out of bounds or my man's going to get it. And those balls are a lot safer than intermediate passing throws where you got to read linebackers and safeties will try to trick you with their eyes and scheme really comes in. So those are a lot harder throws to kind of dissect as a quarterback. And I think Jackson was afraid to make some of them because he didn't want to make a big mistake. And I think it all points back to that first almost big mistake that he made when that safety jumped the route and could have took it back for 6 if he would have caught the ball. So, I mean, I've watched some of these film studies that they put out and shown what Jackson was looking at. There were certain plays. I mean, there's one that sticks out very much to me with, I want to say it was Malcolm. He on Auburn's sideline, he ran a slant and go, a sluggo route, and it was there. It was there. The safety over, and Jackson was looking at it. I'm not sure why he didn't pull the trigger. And one thing as a quarterback is that you're late, more than likely it can be a disaster. So what that does is that hesitation that he's now doing because he's trying to accommodate for everybody around the throw and not trusting his instincts and trusting his preparation. Now he's hesitating to make that throw because he wants to make sure he's not throwing it in harm's way. What that's doing is that's not allowing him to rip those balls when they're supposed to be thrown. He's taking that extra step, and what is that resulting in? That's resulting in he has to go to the next receiver, his next progression, because he's laid over here. And eventually, against a good, aggressive, fast defensive front like what we faced Saturday, you don't have time to do that. You got to trust your instincts and your reads and your preparation. You have to. And I just don't think he did that. And I think a lot of those sacks and a lot of him pulling the ball down and trying to run it resulted in him not trusting himself. And it's a concern because what we know about Jackson Arnold from last year is that they say when he was at Oklahoma, he played he played bad football because he lost all his confidence in himself. So that's almost very familiar with not having that confidence to rip off these passes, not trusting yourself and trusting your instincts to hit these timing routes, to let the ball go before the receiver turns his head, and trusting that your man's going to be in that spot. Overcompensating for things like that, and it carries over. He missed a few receivers. I know you wish you could have that one back to Cam. I really think he got excited on that one, the one where Cam pulled the hitch and go, and the corner bit, and I mean, he would have walked into the end zone. You could have lobbed it like a rainbow to him, and it would have been a touchdown. No one was there. You look back at those plays and you really say, man, I wish. You got to have those plays. And a lot of people talk about it. We talk about it, that in these big games, when you get those opportunities, because you're not going to get them too many times, especially against good defenses. But when you get those opportunities, you have got to capitalize. You have got to execute. You can't miss that throw, Jackson. You can't. It killed that drive. It killed that drive. So just concerns there. And I'm also concerned a little bit because this is a business now with these players, that how much communication. Now, this is just me speculating. I have no inside source. I'm not at practice. I don't know anything. This is just me speculating from what I know about football, what I know about sports, and what I know about competitors. So with this being a business and Jackson gets paid, Coach Freeze gets paid, Jackson understands that for him to be successful at Auburn and eventually lead to a career in the NFL, he's got to be on that football field. He's got to play. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So I'm not sure how much he trusts going to Coach Freeze and telling him, hey man, I'm just not comfortable right here with this route, or because I don't want to mess it up, and I think, Freeze is so bought into his system and his way of coaching football through an offensive perspective and his play calling, that I'm not so sure he trusts that Coach Freeze will really be flexible enough to adjust his game plans just to fit Jackson Arnold, which he should be. If this is your starting quarterback, this is who you're putting on the field, you should adjust your game plan. That way you can give your quarterback as much possibility to have the greatest amount of success that he is capable of. So you should. And that line of communication, again, I don't know. This is me from the outside looking in. But I hope that's not the case, because if that is the case, then we have problems, almost the same sort of problems that you had with Peyton Thorne and Hugh Freeze last year, with the disconnect of really communication and being on the same page when it comes to play calling, and Hugh Freeze wants you to do one thing and you do another. I don't think it's to that level as what it was last year, but if they're not talking and Hugh Freeze doesn't know that, okay, Jackson might not want to run this play because he doesn't know if he can make that throw. There were out routes. They showed them on the film study, Aaron Murray's film study. I watched it earlier today. There were out routes that if Jackson trusts his progressions and rips that ball across the field, anticipating the receiver to come out of his break open, it's there. But he denied it every time. He looked it off and went to the next man. And what's that result in? Probably a sack. Him trying to, because you don't got all day, especially, when you're going through one side of the field to the other side of the field. So, and these are the routes. We talked about it. We talked about it in the case of John Mateer, but it's the same philosophy with Jackson Arnold. These are the types of throws and routes and completions that get you going, that get that confidence back in you, that give you a little rhythm, that makes you realize that, okay, all I got to do is just get the ball to Malcolm Simmons or Eric Singleton or Cam Coleman. And they're going to make plays. And I don't have to do too much. And eventually you can kind of equalize the advantage that Oklahoma had with the pass rush and the bringing the pressure through the short routes and getting the ball out of Jackson's hand quick before they can get to him. Because eventually those big boys get frustrated and they get tired of firing off the ball and blowing up field just for them to not get home. And the quarterbacks, Ben done got rid of the ball. Excuse my my incorrect grammar. And the quarterback has already got rid of the ball, and we were unable to get home time after time and time after again. They're going to have to change their tendency of what they like to do, which is pressure the quarterback, and they're going to have to start falling back, and they're going to start having to put their hands up in the air and dropping out into little flat coverages, And that's what you want to do. You want to break them of their tendencies. So now we can really open the offense up and the running game's there. And then you got time to go through your progressions because they're not flying off the ball. They're not, ears back wide open to the quarterback. They're not able to, they don't know what to do at that point. So, but it all starts with Jackson being in sync with the play calling and trusting himself to make those throws. And it really comes full circle when you throw in, do I trust my coach enough to tell him how I truly feel in these games about what throws I'm confident in making and what throws I'm not? And will he be patient and flexible enough with me to accommodate for these things? Or am I setting myself up to get replaced? So that's just a little from the outside looking in. Could be in left field with all that. Like I said, they could have the best relationship in the world, go out to eat dinner and all that good stuff. So who knows? So not saying that's what's going on. But yeah, Jackson's got some improvement. And the thing that is also concerning is as you look at these film studies and they kind of put on tape what Hugh Freeze's offense looks like, the route combinations and the reads and just everything that comes into this play calling system. It's not simple, to tell you the truth. Like, you got to be a very good quarterback to make these to make these reads and be correct in making these reads and doing it quick and getting the ball out of your hand and trusting yourself. There is a lot of things that come into play with being successful as a quarterback in Hugh Freeze's offense. I mean, it is not for your control the game, manage the game quarterbacks. It's not for your Greg McElroys and your Stetson Bennett's. And I mean, this is stuff that's for your Trevor Lawrences, who we saw do a good job with that when he was in college. Maybe Jameis Winston. Like, this is for your overly athletic quarterbacks if they can pull the ball down and run a lot. Or it's for your really good quarterbacks in the pocket who can make quick decisions, have great arm accuracy, and can feel the pocket and feel pressure. I mean, that's what it looks like to me. It is not simple. And I don't know how much, if that's really helping us. Like, I feel like you need to make it easy. as easy as possible. And if we have a good defense, like, what's wrong with having a game managing style of offense? I don't know. I don't know. I mean, you point everybody's mad at the offensive line because they false start 3 times in a row, and we got 7 or 8 false start penalties throughout the game. Like, everybody's like, the offensive line sucks. They can't watch the ball. They can't sit still till the ball snap. Well, I mean, you're in a hostile environment. You can't hear anything. You got Jackson back here being told by Coach Freeze he doesn't even have a play to begin with. He stands back there and he claps, and then Coach Freeze will tell him, okay, I got a tip on the safety. It looks like he's inching in, and so run Z dig or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Run the wheel with the X-Man or whatever the play call is. So then he gets the play call, and Jackson, he switches the cadence up, and because you don't want him to get a tip on the cadence and give them an edge for when the ball is going to be snapped. They already get to the ball pretty fast, so you don't want to give them that advantage. So, one time Jackson's going to, he's going to fake the clap, and then he's going to clap again, or he's going to clap twice. And just with all that, and then you're milking the game clock, the play clock down to 3 seconds every time, because it takes so much time to undress the defense and figure out what's the best play to run. And all in this time, your offensive linemen are sitting there expected to be dead still and not catch false start penalties. I mean, make it easier for yourself, Auburn. Yeah, switch the cadences up, but all this checking at the line and changing packages, I mean, you're complicating the offense. It's a simple game. It really is. Football is a simple game. It's running the ball, it's tackling, it's the line of scrimmage, and playing defense. And I don't know how we've really got in this pattern of that you gotta complicate it with all this, just really unnecessary things that they do. So I don't know, let's look at some of the positives. Cam Coleman, hey man, throwing the ball, Jackson, that's all you got to do, really. Put it in the air. I mean, we see it, and he'll go get it. They're either going to have to tackle him like they did before he catches the ball, and then hopefully we'll get a call, or he's gonna catch the ball, double coverage, whatever. Cam Coleman, he was a bright spot Saturday, and Jackson was tough. I'm not going to sit here and say that, he even with all the uncertainty around the passing game and in his confidence, he was tough. He took sack after sack, got hit throughout the game, and he kept getting up. Reminded me a lot of Bo Nix, just that tenacity and that grit that Nix used to play with. Jackson, reminded me of that. He didn't look shook, didn't look rattled. Business approach, and that's something you can build on. That's a positive there. So I mean, you can take the good and the bad. We lost the game, and it is what it is. But we have a big opportunity this week, and I think Jackson, you get in that film study, you talk to Coach Freeze, and you really focus on just getting the ball, just playing pitch and catch. Be a good point guard, bro. Just play pitch and catch, man. Get these boys the ball. Hit them in their chest. Eric Singleton, those 2 screen plays that were thrown to Singleton, one down there by the end zone on that first drive that we almost scored on, and the one up there probably at the 50, all in the first half. If you hit him in the chest on time, Jackson, he's got one man to beat both times. He might walk into the end zone on the one down here on the 2-yard line, 3-yard line on third down when we had to settle for the 20-yard field goal. And the one up at the top, you got Cam Coleman. He did a good job blocking his man. It was him and the safety. And the safety was about 5-6 yards away from him when he was ready for the ball. You didn't get it to him. It wasn't there. And then you let it out in front of him, and he had to, and which took him into the safety, which closed that gap. So it's a game of inches, man. It is a game of inches. So those timing routes, put it on his numbers, man. Put it in his chest, and let him go let him play for you. So, anyways, this video ran a little long. Got some good points about Jackson Arnold out there tonight. I have not given up on the young man. I think he has all the potential in the world to really bring this Auburn team home this year and get it and get us on the winning track. So I'm not giving up on Jackson Arnold. I want to see the best out of the young man, and we're going to keep supporting him from here on out. And that's what I got for you today. Hope y'all have a good evening. We'll be back at you tomorrow. War Eagle.